Is there a new king of the Disney Plus shows? What's going on, guys? I'm Chris, and welcome back to another video. So today I got a big old tier list ranking of all the Disney Plus original shows. This ranges from the Star Wars shows to the MCU shows to a handful of other series as well. And the reason for this video is that Percy Jackson and the Olympians Season 1 just concluded. If you haven't already, be sure to check out my in-depth thoughts linked up above. So before I dive into this tier list, be sure to hit that like button. It helps out more than you guys know. Subscribe and hit that notification bell to help reach my goal of 100,000 subscribers here on the channel. I'm so close and trying to make that final push. And comment your ranking of all these shows down below as well. And of course, go show some love to the Unusual Couple podcast for weekly episodes with myself and my girlfriend Cam. She loves the Percy Jackson show, and we'll be talking about that in next week's episode. Without further ado, let's just get into this ranking. Alright, so the tiers I have are S tier, A tier, B tier, C tier, D tier, and the good old F tier. Again, these are all the Disney Plus shows that I've seen. Without further ado, let's get into this. This list is fully randomized. Starting off, we've got Star Wars The Bad Batch right there. This is a Clone Wars spinoff. They set up the Bad Batch in Season 7, and this is a really unique idea. You know, we get to see this squadron of clone troopers who are defects in a way, and they have these mutations that make them advanced, and it takes place like right after Order 66 in a very interesting time period within the Star Wars canon. Now, I haven't finished Season 2, but I did thoroughly enjoy Season 1. I've heard Season 2 is a rocky road, but it ends on a really high note. Season 3 drops in February, and Ventress is coming back, so there's a lot to look forward to. I'll probably catch up on Season 2 beforehand. I'd say a lot of the Bad Batch is like that mid to meh level of Clone Wars episodes with a few outliers that are really strong. So I'm going to put this in the C tier. Now, I do enjoy the camaraderie of this group and how they take in Omega, and they're all kind of like father figures to her. Of course, you've got Rex, Cad Bane, Fennec, a lot of cool characters in here as well, but I just want a little more out of it, and maybe the finale of Season 2 could give me that in Season 3 as well. But it does feel like a bit of the more forgettable side of Clone Wars as opposed to the outstanding, out-of-this-world level of Clone Wars. Anyway, that's just my 2 cents. Moving on, we've got Loki. This is Season 1 and Season 2 I'm talking about right here. To me, this is upper tier MCU content, period, so of course I'm putting Loki in S tier. Season 1 I really enjoyed, and I did nitpick it a little bit when it came out, but I went back and rewatched it for Season 2 with a whole new viewing experience and a whole new appreciation for it. Then you add in Season 2, and this is a perfect 2-season story. Loki went from one of the more unlikable, almost unnecessary characters at the time to a character who had a full-on journey, and he has changed as a character, and he's actually changed the course of the MCU as we know it. Mobius and Loki, one of my favorite duos in the MCU, and this is just great dramatic television. I say this every time I talk about Loki, and I mean it. It does not feel like a Marvel Studios project, and that's for the better. It's just great dramatic television, and man, I have gone back to that Season 2 finale many times and just rewatched it. The score gives me chills. The beautiful payoff to everyone's character arc gives me chills. It is a masterfully made MCU project, and I wish that every show and movie in the MCU had this level of care and attention to detail put into it, because the MCU would be in a much better place. Next, we've got Moon Knight. One of my hot takes is that I'm not crazy about this show. Felt really unsatisfied with the finale. It kind of made me question the existence of this entire show. Yes, Moon Knight has a cool costume. Yes, Oscar Isaac is fantastic in the role, but unfortunately it takes the worst elements of the 6-episode MCU Disney Plus television format and gives us a pretty unmemorable finale. The show just feels pointless to me, guys. I haven't gone back to it since, and I'm aware it's got some really cool concepts and neat ideas. The execution is just really lacking to me, and I feel bad that Oscar Isaac was tied down to this because he's a fantastic actor, but my god, episode 5 of this show was borderline unwatchable, and the finale, what a joke in my opinion. What a waste of Ethan Hawke as Arthur Harrow as well. This left me more confused and upset, and honestly just pondering its existence more than anything, so I'm gonna put it in D tier. And I know a lot of guys just started going to war against me in the comments, and that's fine. It's just my opinion. Moving on, though, we've got The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, a show that I find far superior to Moon Knight. I'm actually gonna put this in the B tier. It's a very solid show. I kind of alternate between A and B depending on my mood, but the reason the show works for me is the chemistry between Bucky Barnes and Sam Wilson. They both are at a unique spot in their lives post Avengers Endgame. It's like the first time we explore them as characters in their own project, not in an Avengers film or not in a team up. Bucky Barnes is dealing with this PTSD, and over the course of this show, he gets comfortable with who he is as a person. He lets go of past demons and moves on in life. And then we've got Sam Wilson, who takes on the role of Captain America in a society that looks down on him and doesn't even want him as Cap half the time. So both characters go on these great journeys, and then you got John Walker as the anti-hero here. Yeah, the Flag Smashers are weak, but that's not really what the show's all about. Plus, every MCU project you could critique the villain because they're horribly underdeveloped in most MCU projects, let's be honest. Falcon Winter Soldier is a strong outing for me and one of the better MCU shows. Next, we've got Percy Jackson and the Olympians, the one you've all came here to hear me talk about, the newest of the batch. This is an 8-episode Disney Plus show based on the book series by Rick Riordan. This is season 1. It deals with the Lightning Thief novel. Now, backstory for me, I read that book in like 3rd grade, haven't read it since. I think I read like a few pages or maybe a few chapters earlier this year, but haven't really committed to reading it. And then I've seen the 2 movies. And I can say this much, this is a far superior adaptation than that original Lightning Thief movie. It feels true to the novel and the source material, but also delivers something that I think the fans enjoy. The cast across the board is perfect, notably Walker Scobell as Percy. He embodies what that character should be. There's this sense of adventure in this, and it reminds me of the movies and shows I loved to watch when I was 10, 11, 12. That family fun adventure feel that we don't have a lot of now. I thought the gods were amazing here as well. As you get near the end of the series, Lance Reddick, rest in peace, he crushes it as Zeus. The actor who plays Poseidon is amazing. In a way, the show is able to have this expansive adventure, but still feel small scale and about the characters, and I appreciate it greatly for that. It did a fantastic job of setting up this world and establishing all these character relationships and just the actual rules and logistics of this world, like I said, and I'm ready for season 2 and hopefully 3, 4, 5, and maybe even more. It's awesome. I'm putting it in A tier. It is a very well-made show, and the only place I've really seen overwhelming negativity is on TikTok with people saying, it's not the movie. People, what are you doing? The movie's not that good. Get over it. Anyway, next we've got She-Hulk. This is the first F tier project. This is borderline unwatchable to me. I find it painfully unfunny. The fourth wall breaks didn't work for me, and I legitimately was just kind of irritated with a lot of decisions this show made. Yeah, that's really all I have to say. Next, we've got Andor, aka the best Star Wars show ever made. If I'm being completely honest with you, I'm going at the top of S tier with Andor. This is some of the best Star Wars content ever. It's just great dramatic television and storytelling, and the way the show is structured is unique as well. It's very much a Clone Wars route where you've got these episode arcs, except Cassian is at the center of them all. The prison break sequence is my favorite in the entire show. Andy Serkis as Kino Loy, like his speech, the one way out moment. I watch that on YouTube constantly, and it gives me all the chills in the world. This is how you do a Star Wars story, in my opinion. It takes a character from Rogue One and builds up a backstory for him, but this is the rebellion versus the Empire. This is real, and it's got a lot to say about modern day society as well, but it's just well-made Star Wars too. It makes the Empire feel more threatening than ever, perhaps, and it humanizes this group of rebels just trying to fight for the greater good. It's Star Wars at its best, arguably, and the crown jewel of Disney Plus, perhaps. I hope season 2 doesn't disappoint, but Loki and Andor are literally like right there for me. There are just some standout moments in Andor that make me put it at the top, and the more I marinate on Andor, the more and more I love it. Next, we got the Santa Clauses. I put this on here for one reason only, to say that this is actually unwatchable. I've seen 10 minutes of this entire thing, and I had to just acknowledge that. It's going at the back of F tier. This is the worst show on this list, and I love the Santa Claus trilogy. I grew up with them. Tim Allen is like the person I think of when I think of movie Santa Clauses. This show is just disgraceful. In the first 5 minutes, I was like, this is trying to single-handedly ruin every piece of childhood nostalgia and care that I ever had for this trilogy. I said, I'm turning this off before it ruins it any further. I can't do this. It's unwatchable. If you like this show, more power to you. I legitimately felt sick watching it. I was like, this is really awful, and I can't do this. I can't taint my childhood memories. Next, we got the Book of Boba Fett. This is not outright awful, simply because it is like The Mandalorian 2.5, and this entire show should have just been a subplot of The Mandalorian Season 3, to be honest. But we do get that one episode that just follows Mando. We get Cad Bane in live action here. We've got Luke Skywalker training Grogu and Ahsoka coming face-to-face with Luke. It gives us some of the more awesome Star Wars moments in recent memory. However, the structure of this show was just whack. The first 4 episodes move at a snail's pace, trying to set up this whole backstory with the Tusken Raiders and Boba Fett, and the finale is way too long and drawn out and frankly anticlimactic. It should have, again, just been a subplot of The Mandalorian. I don't think Boba Fett really carried his own show in my mind. I'm gonna say C tier. I would probably go behind The Bad Batch today. I don't know what I've said in the past, but right now I'm thinking The Bad Batch might be more watchable. That Mando ep and the Luke Skywalker ep do carry a lot of weight though. So actually, you know what? I'll put Boba over Bad Batch just because I can go to those 2 episodes and be like, yeah, that's some of the best Star Wars content in recent years. But unfortunately, as a show overall, it's very, very flawed. Next, we've got Miss Marvel, a show that I think is overhated. It's a joyful watch. Kamala Khan is this lovable character. She's in high school. It's a coming-of-age story, and Iman Vellani owns the role. The show's funny. I do think that structurally speaking, it has some issues, specifically with the 5th episode sort of detouring from the main narrative we'd set up and kind of halting when we were building up to this sort of epic climax, if you will. I would say this is in B tier behind The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. It's one of the more enjoyable MCU Disney Plus shows that's a lot more focused than others. It doesn't feel like it's trying to set up all these other projects. It was filled with Kamala Khan's culture. It was fresh, fun. I enjoyed it quite a bit, honestly. Next, we've got Echo. I don't understand why the media is lying about this show. And what I mean by that, before you go, what, is he about to make some political statement? Not remotely. I am talking about the outlets, the trades reporting on this. I've seen statements being like, Echo saved the MCU. Echo is completely responsible for launching street-level MCU. I personally have not talked to a single person who enjoyed this show, and I don't really know anyone outside of YouTube who's actually watched this show. It just dropped, all 5 episodes at once, and it was completely rushed. The whole first episode felt like they were just bringing in scenes from Hawkeye to like fill a 50-minute mandate for the time. The whole thing was choppy as hell. Like, the pacing was awful in my mind. Kingpin was just included to blatantly set up the MCU street-level side of things and just canonize Daredevil. Like, Daredevil's in this for 3 minutes. And then there's just weird flashbacks. Like, structurally speaking, this show is heavily flawed. It's very rushed. I'm putting this in D tier. Honestly, I'd watch Moon Knight over it. Echo was, like, disastrous to me, and I don't know anyone who's actually watched it, so I think they're lying about how well it's doing, because all these outlets are like, yeah, this is like doing really well for Disney Plus and Hulu, and I'm like, show me the numbers. I don't believe it. Next, we've got Hawkeye, one that I enjoy a lot. I'm gonna go, I go back and forth with this and The Falcon Winter Soldier, which one do I like more? I'm gonna say right now, oh, that's so hard. I'm gonna put Hawkeye over it. I literally think the other week I did some sort of ranking with these and I put Falcon Winter Soldier over it. It just depends on the day. They're both about even for me. Hawkeye takes place during the holiday season, so it's got that cheerfulness to it, but it also is a nice little passing of the mantle from Clint Barton to Kate Bishop, and I say this every time I talk about Hawkeye, but Kate Bishop's one of the more relatable MCU characters. She's college age. I was in college when this came out, so it was nice to see like a main lead of a Marvel project that's a lot younger. I dug the hell out of Hawkeye. Next, we've got Obi-Wan Kenobi, aka probably the single most disappointing Disney Plus show of them all. Obi-Wan Kenobi is my favorite Jedi. He's arguably my favorite Star Wars character. And I just think this show didn't sabotage him as a character, but in a way tried to. This show should have just been Obi-Wan and Vader, them playing mind games with each other, and the exploration of that relationship. Instead, we shoehorned in this entire Inquisitor plotline with Reva, we shoehorned in this entire Little Leia plotline. It got all over the place when the concept was so simple. It just needed to be about Vader and Obi-Wan, and they really just missed the mark somehow with that. I don't ever think about this show. In fact, to me, I don't even acknowledge it. When I think of the Star Wars canon, to me, I watch the end of Revenge of the Sith, and then I go into A New Hope in terms of Obi-Wan and Anakin having interaction with each other. I'm not going to watch A New Hope and be like, oh yeah, remember when they fought in Obi-Wan Kenobi? It just doesn't exist to me. I gotta go D tier with this, and I would put it probably at the top just because it does have some standout moments that make it more watchable than what else I have in D tier. But those 2 episodes of Boba Fett and then The Bad Batch in terms of enjoyment are over Obi-Wan for me. This is a huge letdown. Next, we got High School Musical, the series. I've actually only seen episodes here and there because my girlfriend watched this show, and so I'd be in the room watching some of it, and I've seen like some of the songs. It's got that Glee vibe to it, where it's a musical show and they do like renditions of popular songs, but also it's got the comedy where it's documentary or mockumentary style and characters will look into the camera and speak. I would say, in all honesty, I would probably go C tier with this. I feel weird even talking about it because I haven't seen it fully, but I was like, let me include this just to have some extra variety and not make it all Marvel and Star Wars. I mean, I'd probably say C tier, like at the back of it. I don't know which season's even the best. Again, I've just seen random episodes throughout my life, but the music slaps. What can you say? Next, we've got The Mandalorian. This is the way. Seasons 1 and 2, some of the best Star Wars content I've ever seen, and I thoroughly enjoy them a lot. I watch those seasons on a loop. Season 3, massive letdown. Massive letdown. That doesn't hold back the greatness of Seasons 1 and 2, so because of that, I'm still going to put this in A tier, actually over Percy Jackson. Like, if Seasons 1 and 2 were the only 2 seasons of this show, I would make an argument to push this to the very top of S tier because I love it that much. I hold it that highly. Unfortunately, we do have to acknowledge Season 3, and it just meanders constantly. There is no sense of direction. There's no story for Mando and Grogu. At a certain point with Grogu, it just became blatantly about making toys and Funko Pops out of the character, and just having him be cute and silly, and I was like, man, what a fall from grace. Mando and Grogu begin and end in seemingly the same spot. It's not like there's a lot of tension or urgency this season. I don't like how they handled Giancarlo Esposito as Moff Gideon. I feel like there was a lot of wasted potential there, and it's more so Bo-Katan's story than Mando, and that's completely fine. I like Bo-Katan a lot. It just didn't really feel like Mando and Grogu had a lot to do, and the show's called The Mandalorian, so it just confused me. Seasons 1 and 2, however, some of the best Star Wars out there. You've got Mando going on these quests. You've got the callbacks and past characters appearing. The end of Season 2 ties a perfect bow on Seasons 1 and 2. It could have ended The Mandalorian, but unfortunately, we got Season 3. Next, we got WandaVision. I will never forget the hype train for. You guys remember week to week? Arguably one of the best times to be alive as a Marvel fan. We had been deprived of Marvel content for so long, and we finally got a show for like 9 weeks. I guess it was more like 8 or 7 weeks because they dropped some episodes at once on the first day. But no, I would say this is B tier, honestly. I would put it at the back of B tier. I know I've said things about the show in the past. Trust me, I have significant issues with it, specifically the handling of Evan Peters as Quicksilver, aka Ralph Bohner. But I have to respect what this show did for the MCU and the time period. That I cherish more than the show itself, because I think it falls off in the finale, and even the penultimate ep is a waste of time in my opinion. But it has a distinct vision, and it's cool that each ep is from like a different sitcom era. That was neat stylistically, I can't deny that. So it's a B tier show, but I do think it's overhyped just because of the era, if that makes sense. Moving on, we've got Secret Invasion. This is not unwatchable, but man, it's kind of a snoozer. There were a lot of really cool concepts. Like early on, it felt like really early Mission Impossible films to me, specifically the first, with this like spy thriller vibe, and then it just never really delved into any of the cool concepts it set up. And by the end, it got ridiculously goofy and stupid. And in terms of like the whole big picture of the MCU, it doesn't even really make sense. The implications of that finale, I feel like will never even see the light of day. I think they're just going to kind of sweep it under the rug. I would go D tier with it, and honestly, at the back of D tier. I love that Nick Fury got his own show, but it should have been a million times better. Good lord. Then we've got Ahsoka. I enjoyed a lot of this show, and then when it ended, I was like, that's it? It kind of felt pretty underwhelming. Some standout moments for sure. We're seeing Hayden Christensen as Anakin Skywalker, but in retrospect, I can't help but say, and it hurts me to say this, that did feel like just blatant fan service. Like, of course, it was cool to see Vader return and Clone Wars flashbacks in live action, but I don't know if they had as much substance as I wish they would have. I also can't help but feel like the whole show existed to just get Thrawn back, and then Ahsoka and Sabine just switched places with him. So what was the point of everything? I enjoyed the journey more than the destination. You feel me? That's kind of how I'm at with that. So I would say top of C tier right now. There was a day where I would have gone A tier. I was really enjoying it kind of week to week, but around episode 6 is when I was like, this is really losing steam. It just didn't really land for me as much as I wanted it to. And last but not least, we've got What If. I enjoyed season 2 more than season 1. I don't know if that's a hot take or not, but I think they still have so many concepts they could explore that are regarding the actual movies. Like in terms of the plot of films, like what if this one character made this decision in the movie, what would we see? I get that they're going for more original concepts, sort of like unrelated to things, but I really wish that they would almost like explore Infinity War and Endgame more. I enjoyed what we got though, don't get me wrong, we got some new characters in the second season. I do think they focus way too much on Captain Carter, like no one cares about Captain Carter. I would say What If is a C tier show. It's passable MCU content, but it's not a required viewing at all. I would put it like right in the middle. I think maybe, actually even right here, like I'd put Bad Batch over it. You could go your whole life as an MCU fan and not watch this, and you wouldn't miss anything. But if you watch it, it's like, oh yeah, I get that little nod or that callback. Oh, that'd be a cool thing to explore. But it's not like, oh, I'm dying to watch a new episode of What If. It's there, it's passable, but it's nothing special. So yeah, that does it for my ranking of all the Disney Plus original shows that I've seen. Let me know yours in the comments down below. Where does Percy Jackson and the Olympians place? Let me know that and more down below, and of course be sure to hit that like button, subscribe and hit that notification bell to help me reach my goal of 100,000 subscribers here on the channel. It would mean a lot. I'm so close. I'm trying to make that final push. And of course, go show some love to the Unusual Couple podcast for weekly episodes with myself and my girlfriend Cam. We have a ton of fun with it over there. But that's gonna do it. Thank you guys as always for watching, and until next time, I'll see you guys later.